paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, yeah, it's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And
I
yes,
don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Imagine, if you will, the perfect Magic the Gathering deck. 20 creatures, 20 lands, and 20 pump spells. With Magic Foundations, Picnic Ruiner's back. You got Picnic Ruiner, you got Slickshot Show Off. We're playing Giant Growth in 2024, people.
Picnic Ruiner?
I am... Do you not know Picnic Ruiner, DJ? It's a 2-mana, 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets double strike. And you can... It has an adventure side for 4 mana called, like, Step in Your Lunch or something. I don't actually think it's called that.
Stolen Goodies, apparently.
Yeah, that's the same thing. And it puts 3 counter stuff. You never cast that. You play Cacophony Scamp and Heartfire Hero. You have Giant Growth and Monstrous Rage and Innkeeper's Talent and Might of the Meek. And you just play your idiot, you play your second idiot, you play 3 pump spells, and they f***ing die.
This sounds like the kind of deck that I want to play my Wolverine Best There Is in when he is standard legal in 8 months or whatever, when they put him in the real set.
I mean, the card probably pretty good in the sideboard of this deck, honestly.
He does double damage, and then you give him double strike or something, and then he
kind of does the thing, yeah.
And I've been playing Standard a ton recently. And I've been playing Mono Red. Partially because, like, I just think it's cool that a deck like this particular iteration of it exists. And that cards like Monstrous Rage are not just playable, but very good in Standard. But also I just thought, hey, I'm going to break outside my comfort zone. I'm going to, play a deck I wouldn't typically play. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. And it really does feel like a Sly deck, right? Like, it feels like you're playing...
Corbin, can you explain the term Sly to people who were born before that term was created?
Well, DJ, people who read my World Championship coverage, thank you for this, know what Sly is because, as I explained there, the standard Sly deck we have now looks a lot like the Mono Red deck that you had at the World Championship 30 years ago, which was a handful of Jackal Pup type creatures, real small red creatures, and then just some burn spells and things like that. And that's kind of what this one is, right? Like, this is a little different than... This isn't like a go big Hazoret red kind of deck, right? It's you play your small, hasty creatures, get in there, and then you shock their face. And that's pretty sweet.
You use all of your mana every turn, and you win the game on pure efficiency. Mm-hmm. There's actually a card in Foundations that, to me, is emblematic of what Sly is. It's a Magic card that I've played in 3 different decades now, which speaks to my age. And it's Frenzied Goblin. Because it's a 1-mana 1/1.
Yes.
And it doesn't actually do that much. But your opponent spends 4 mana on a creature, and you attack with your Frenzy Goblin, and you pay 1 mana to make them not block. You got use out of that mana, and you made their 4-mana creature do nothing because the game ends when they die.
And
There was a card in RTR Innistrad Standard, which for those who remember was a very, very good standard format. But part of it was plagued by a card called Thragtusk, which was a big, dumb idiot that gained you a lot of life and left a creature behind. And one of the most efficient ways to deal with it was a 1-mana common enchantment called Crippling Blight, which is 1 black mana enchantment or a target creature gets -1/-1 and can no longer block. So you make it so they can't block with their creature, and then they also don't get their token, and you don't care if it is attacking you because they are dead. And sometimes just Falter just kills them. Like,
Yep.
We have Hammerhand in Standard, and it's not even seeing play. And that, to me, blows my mind. Hammerhand does kind of suck, but I love it.
It's
2024 card, right?
Well, here's the thing. I've wanted a Hammerhand once or twice before, but you actually have, I think this is the right name, Witchstalker's Frenzy. The 4 mana, so it's discounted by 1 for each creature you attack with. So typically you're paying 1 mana to deal 5 damage to something. And that's it. It's great. I also board the real trick for this.
What is this Dark Souls ass art on this card?
Yeah, well,
it's kind of sick, right?
The real trick to the standard deck too is that you sideboard into Urbrass's Forge, which obviously we've talked about that as a pick of the week on this show before. Welcome into Brainstorm Brewery, by the way, everybody. But yeah, I mean, what that does is allow you to just grind out almost anything. As long as you don't get Tranquil Throwback, you can just beat anybody with that card.
There's also just Screaming Nemesis, which is seeing a ton of play now, which
Yes.
is like if Boros Reckoner and Stigma Lasher had a baby that was also
So good.
hasted.
It's so good.
That card has so much text on it, and like I read it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It's a red mythic. It's a fine attacker. I didn't realize that the Boros Reckoner text.
Yeah. And it's so like what happens a non-zero number of times is I will attack into say a green-black player whose deck makes food tokens and whatnot, and they'll go, okay, sure, anoint with whatever, try to kill your thing, and I'll be or exile your guy, and that doesn't deal damage to it, so it won't trigger its ability. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna shock my own dude because I'm gonna redirect that 2 points of damage from the shock right back at your face, so it's just a shock to your face with a middleman, and that middleman is now turned off all of your life gain incidental that you have for the rest of the game, which is huge when you're pointing shocks at people's faces. So yeah, just a little ode to mono red here, I guess, but it's been a lot of fun, and so is standard.
It's a good year for the tube stock full of 9 volts. Like, it's getting scrappy is back in. And speaking of getting scrappy with mono red, I got some pre-release stories for y'all.
Let's hear it. Foundations over the weekend.
Yep. I played a normal style pre-release on Friday, and I won 2, whatever. I lost to Galta. Happens to the best of us. Ooh, Corbin with a little collecty boosty.
For those on YouTube.
On Sunday, I did 2-headed giant with my buddy, and our thing is that we always just play the 2 most aggressive decks we can. And we've never lost a game of 2-headed giant together this way. We're 9-0 lifetime. Spoiler, I 3-0'd the 1 on Sunday. We had a game where we were like super dead if we ever have to do combat damage to our opponent again. They had gained like 13 or 14 life. And our opponent played their 3rd bomb rare. They had 2 High Society Hunters and a Liliana Dreadhorde General. All 3 of those cards say whenever a creature dies, you have to draw a card.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, cards in library. And one of the guys rolls his eyes and goes, fine, I'll count it. Counts out 18. I look at my teammate, we start doing math, and I sacrifice 3 Fanatical Firebrands to pay
There
our
you
own
go.
creatures, making them draw 19 cards and killing them.
That's amazing.
Get
That is
scrappy
a good story.
and limited.
That is incredible. I'm very excited to open these later. I want to open up one on the show, but I think I should do it. This is going to be a fun set. So it does beg the question. We're going to get to more to foundations later, but it begs the question of how much of this hype is going to stick and how get overshadowed. And we're about to enter into a very different ecosystem for 2025. Yeah, we'll get to all of that. Welcome into Brainstorm Brewery, everybody. I'm Corbin, joined by DJ and Cass, and we've got a lot to talk about, and the places we are talking about are always changing. As you know, this podcast evolves over time. Many of you have stuck with us at patreon.com/BSB, and without you, this podcast wouldn't exist. Your support makes it possible. On the topic, though, of the media where people are communicating, what's up with Bluesky? You all moved over to Bluesky yet?
I made an account like a year ago or a while. I just sort of reserved the username.
Yeah.
A just in case kind of thing, and
Did that pay off?
I did make one for BSB too. I made.
Oh,
one
good work,
back,
DJ.
Back when I made my own one, I reserved the username. I did the thing.
You're so good to us,
still,
DJ.
I believe it is still Brainstorm Brew at.
Love it. At bluesky. However it works. I still don't understand why that's a thing, but
I think it's a deep cut
It
back
is-
to like Mastodon instances, which was
maybe just get
not
rid
something
of
that I
it,
think we
though.
should be doing referential stuff too, because Mastodon always kind of sucked. Please don't get at me, Mastodon users.
Yeah, it is just at brainstormbrewery.bsky.social, and I will click follow it back because I apparently hadn't done it.
Good work, DJ. Yeah, I had the experience of a few weeks ago. I think it was a week before Worlds when everybody was starting their exodus. And obviously, this is a thing for those of us who are involved in the community. You may think, oh, you're just talking about online stuff. This doesn't matter. Blah, 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 blah. To an extent, that's true. On the other hand, like quite literally, Twitter is my number one far and away best resource for contacting the players I need to interview within a 24-hour window to actually make timely content for Wizards of the Coast for my job, right? So like this stuff does matter, right? So if the Magic, you don't want the Magic community to be defragmented, right? And it seems like there is a real shift this time of everybody moving over to Bluesky and actually using the platform. I had the same experience of DJ, apparently. I went to a few weeks ago to make my account, and I was like, really? Someone took Chosler? This is terrible. We're going to go through a whole Chosler 88 relapse here. Like, what's happening? And then I realized that instead of raging, I could simply click forgot my password. And it turns out that I was the person who made that account a year ago. and I had an account on Blue Sky. So let's go. That's all.
The problem with Blue Sky is that I open it up and I feel like I'm in a bizarro version of Twitter, and like I feel like something's wrong.
Everyone's
Yeah,
happy.
I have like social media app dysphoria or something.
Yeah.
You try little things that you take for granted, like pasting pictures into a DM thread, and that doesn't work.
Yep.
And
Oh,
like react
never even thought about
emojiing to a message, and you can't do. But like I get it. It's infancy. You got to let it grow. You got to give the feedback.
I
and
don't
let
get it. I don't get it, DJ, because what you just described, a laugh react emoji. I think AI could write that. Like,
I think you might be able to do it on the mobile app. I tend to use the desktop version of things.
I don't care. I'm criticizing the company. It's not that hard in 2024 to put laugh reacts in messages, man. It just isn't.
I'm trying to figure out where the DMs even are on this website. On this
They're in the
app.
middle.
They call
They're
it
in the middle.
chat.
They're right in the middle. Yeah. They call them skeets. Is that true, or is that a thing?
I don't like any
Is
of
that a
this.
joke? Is that a joke?
That was a
true?
joke they were making. They
Okay.
make that joke on X, the Everything app now. I think actually they're called Skeets over on Blue Sky. It's a psyop, people.
Okay, couldn't tell you. I just hope that the Magic players I need to communicate with are able to communicate with me. Anyway, go follow us all on Blue Sky. We appreciate it.
JJ has one more social media to put in the description. Add our threads, add our Mastodon to the description, add our
Bro,
add
threads
Corbin's
failed.
Grindr account, add his FetLife account.
FetLife account. Is that
Do you think Corbin's ever had a FetLife account, DJ?
like with puppies?
No, but Marianne definitely does.
That's almost certainly true.
No, it's not.
I also feel like and this might be me being like kind of on that edge of like Zoomer and millennial. I'm like a younger millennial, but like I feel like
We're the
FetLife
same
is for
age.
boomers.
We're the same
I understand, DJ. You're also on that line.
Zoomer lineal.
I feel like FetLife is for like people in their late 40s now. Like I don't know anybody who is my age who has ever used that website.
It's all on Field now, right?
I don't know what that is either. God, is that?
Field is a poly dating app. It's FEELD.
I think I'm
1,000 years old now. Just
I'm
suddenly.
so old.
I
I was
just
making
turned
fun of
30
old
over the-
people, and now you just turned 30.
last weekend.
For some reason, I thought you turned 30 last year.
My birthday is November 9th, and I just turned 30 last weekend.
Happy birthday,
birthday.
DJ. You're old like us.
It's definitely it's not one of the worst birthdays. If you've ever seen Dropout TV, they do a whole skit on what the worst or the best birthday is.
Yeah.
It's not one of the worst ones, but I do feel like it's having a post-election birthday is
Can't be
certainly
great.
Hit or miss, yeah.
one of the more interesting ones was I want to say it was 2012. I was 17 and couldn't vote because I was 5 days too late.
So you're like a Valentine's Day baby?
Kind of. I turned 18 5 days after the election, so I couldn't vote in that presidential election.
Oh. Which one was that? Would that
That was
be
Obama Romney, Obama 2.0.
Oh my god.
Obama.
I hate you. I didn't
Corbin, you're 5 years older than me. Jason's 5 years older than you. We have
My whole bit is not remembering it. You're a baby. Jason's old. I can't actually distinguish any of the time in between those end of the spectrum. That's it. But I don't know anything you all are
Corbin's
talking about. I'll tell you that. Corbin's sundowning. Oh man, get ready for a lot of that over the next 4 years. Let's do Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Who wants to break some bulk?
I have a Shadowmoor Black Common.
Shadowmoor, fucking incremental blight.
That was an uncommon.
It's a creature.
Oh, I
Is
was
it
going to say
the 2/1
foot bottom.
wither?
I was going to say foot bottom feast.
No,
It's a black creature in Shadowmoor.
correct. I don't think it has reprints.
What's Fairy Macabre? Oh, well, Fairy Macabre's reprinted.
He's got a lot of reprints, yeah.
That's in Shadowmoor, though, right?
No reprints. And yes, Fairy Macabre is Shadowmoor.
I feel like this is the one that I'm just like whenever I think of Shadowmoor, I just make up cards in my head because all the effects are so similar.
I love that set, but I don't remember.
Is this like the one that like is a pinger, but it puts -1/-1 counters on things?
You're close, but no.
Okay, I'm not gonna get there exactly on this one. I'm pretty sure
it puts -1/-1 counters on itself to untap itself, and it says tap
cut
player.
Cut something. Which stop it.
Cinder Haze Wretch.
Oh, I was close. I was close. I had the C and the
5
W.
mana 3/2 elemental shaman. Tap target player discards a card. Play this ability only during your turn, and you can put a -1/-1 counter on it as a cost to untap it. So if you have some form of way to remove minus counters or prevent their addition entirely, well, I guess if you can't do that, if you have a way to negate, like +1 counter him over and over,
Luxior.
you can just like machine gun everyone else's hand.
Man, I would. You just got me the wheels turning in my. I would kill to draft Shadowmoor on Arena.
that would be kind of sick. I mean, that was one of the things that Moto really did right for a very long time. Was it
had all the good flashbacks.
Yeah, like Rise of the Eldrazi draft would come back, and I would do like 20 drafts in a week. Like that was the thing to do.
And I just don't like playing MTGO versus Arena, but I play so much Arena, and I don't even think they do enough flashback drafts on Arena, and that's even with and that's not like Arena only sets. Like they had New Capenna for a week, but I was gone for like half of that week, and I love New Capenna, and I got to do like 2 of them or whatever, right? Like,
have we learned nothing from the McRib? Scarcity is important.
Yeah, but that's true, man. But like, give me some like Ravnica Allegiance, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Bring old stuff back for like a window, and let people gorge themselves on it, and then take it away for a while, and then just.
You can buy reserve list cards directly from WotC at the headquarters for 13 minutes, and they're not going to announce when. It's just a pop. Like, they're just going to like put a sign out front that says like Moxen $5, and if you're there, you can get them, and then it's gone forever.
And they're only going to announce it on Mastodon.
Well, that's kind of like funny because the first Pro Tour, remember, you had to just send a postcard to get invited to.
I thought it was a phone call.
No, there's a postcard you had to return.
Jeez.
Because I knew somebody who kept it for all those years.
The story I always heard was that you had to make a phone call, and then maybe you got sent the postcard after that.
It was a process, right? Like, but it was not a qualification system, say that. All right, I've got one.
Anyway, Cinder Haze Wretch occasionally sells on TCG Player, presumably direct, for $1.50 to $2. And Card Kingdom actually has a reasonable number of them in stock at 28 cents. So I think this is potentially a very small, weird arbitrage opportunity to make your McRib money and just buy some number of these when you have a Card Kingdom cart or use store credit, and then put them on TCG Direct for $1.99 if you're a direct seller, and then just kind of wait. But Cinder Haze Wretch, don't forget it.
All right, I've got a rare, and I don't think you all are going to get this unless you've seen it recently. But it's not even to be tricky. It's meant to be a call out for people. This is a green-black Universes Beyond Fallout card.
Alpha Deathclaw?
No.
I feel like I know what this card is. Like visually,
I'm not somebody who knows anything about Fallout. I guess I know a little bit about Fallout now, but I'm not someone who knows anything about like the cards or the set. So like I don't even know if this is a recognizable character.
Oh, it's a character.
Yes, it is. But it is a card that was previously bulk rarish, 60, 70 cents, and is currently $2.50.
Is this like a bounty counter guy?
Let me read it. No. Oh, I see why it spiked. I like the words on this card. Wow, maybe I should buy this card, actually.
I feel like I've seen a bunch of this card in my store's intake.
It has the words proliferate twice on it.
Frank Horrigan.
That's the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Agent Frank Horrigan. Reading this for the first time myself right now. 7 mana, 8/6 trample. It has indestructible as long as it attacks this turn. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, proliferate twice. Well, heck. I play a poison deck. That's
The
Abzan
cards
colors.
in Fallout
I'd
just
like
have
to play
such
this.
good raw rates.
Yes, that is correct. They're all every time, and I remember when those decks came out, and people who got them play them against us, and it's like it wasn't even that the cards like nothing was broken, right? Like it's not like oh they're gonna combo you to death on turn 6. But you're right, every single card is just so powerful on its own that they play fair magic out of a precon against like built decks, you know.
Stuff just comes with Vindicate attached and all that, yeah. Also, so I don't know much about Fallout either. I watched my brother play a few of the games when I was growing up. So I am on the Wikipedia page right now, going to osmosis some information.
Oh, here we go.
Do you guys want to know who Agent Frank Horrigan was the bodyguard for? He was the bodyguard of President Dick Richardson.
Okay. I watched
Which
the
is
I watched the show. That's the limit of my
an
knowledge.
incredible name.
That's
Gradually
so,
mutated into a super mutant, physically
Of
and
course.
mentally. Was used as a guinea pig.
that's why he's Golgari.
Like the rest of this is kind of irrelevant compared to. Oh, he has characteristics. He has 999 HP. I assume that's quite a bit. Equipped with 2 unique weapons, normally unobtainable: an end boss plasma gun and an end boss knife. He's very fast. So he definitely earns that proliferate twice indestructible.
I have a point. I have something to say. I think a knife is not the weapon of an in boss. Just saying.
Why?
Because it's
can't
incredibly
he?
inefficient. Like, what's he doing with that?
Replacing
Maybe-
your heart with a giant hole.
Yeah, like maybe it's a knife
Use a
to him, but it's a
scalpel.
longsword
Use a
to you. Maybe he's
scalpel.
just really large.
Corbin, let me describe the characteristics of end boss knife. It is a large futuristic curved knife and almost larger than a normal human.
Okay, well, that's not a knife.
It's literally what I said. He's just so big that it's a sword to you. That's okay.
It's not a sword either.
It's a longsword.
A really long sword.
What is a sword if
Okay.
not a boss version of a knife? What is
It's
a
the
sword
end
if not
boss
a boss
knife.
Yeah.
God.
Well, I just want. We've started at knife and ended up at long sword, though. Okay, I just like.
Well, to
it
him,
was
it's a knife.
warranted criticism.
He's just a big guy.
I guess so.
Cor, what are you eating?
Snow cone.
What do you?
Fucking whimsical ass treat.
It's so good.
In my head, I was like, he's eating a Sonic slushie, and I was honestly pretty close.
What did
I
you?
was-
What did you
it's a-
make fun of me for? Like 2 weeks ago, getting froyo. You were like, "Oh, what is that? Like a 6-year-old?" And you're eating a snow cone.
Bro,
I'm
gonna grab me a snow cone.
My sweet treats are beyond reproach. I have mature treats like a tiramisu.
Not
Okay,
a-
Moral
do you wanna-
superiority in my dessert choices.
Wait, do you guys know what they call snow cones in Philadelphia? I just learned this recently.
They call them like
No.
Frosty Johns.
It's called a water ice,
That's
Oh,
stupid
water
as
ice, yeah.
shit.
which
That
is
Dumb.
very redundant and also just incorrect. Like I don't like. Yes, water ice.
That's terrible.
Like a
Yeah.
glass of water with ice in it.
What
That's
city
what
did
that-
you say? What city are we
Well, that's
playing?
an ice water.
It's Philly.
Oh, so I was at the Philly game a few days ago. I went to the Dallas Cowboys Philadelphia Eagles game. The Phillies destroyed the Cowboys, and after the game, I had reaffirmed for me why everyone hates Cowboys fans. Man, they just kept screaming, "Eagles fans suck! Eagles, you suck!" Blah, blah, blah. I mean, they got destroyed 31-6. They're like, "Wait till we are healthy," and they haven't won a playoff game in 10 years. Like, and I thought Philly fans were supposed to be the obnoxious ones. They were all very kind. I was sitting with a bunch of Philly fans. We had a great time at the game. That's all.
Philly
plus
Philly is
for
one of those
Philly.
places that, like, when I think about it in my head and like when I talk about it, I'm just like, yeah, Philly kind of sucks. And I'm there and I'm like, this is kind of fun. This is nice. I like Philly.
I think maybe we think it sucks because of Republican propaganda.
I don't know about that. I think I just like have been to Philly. I don't have fond memories, but when I'm there, it's actually fine. I don't know.
There's certain
Some
there's
disconnect.
To me here in
spots that are good.
to me here in Oklahoma, it's like very much one of those liberal cities. You know, like so it's like
Philly's a liberal city. Okay, I don't know. I've never heard that propaganda before. All I know is that Philly is just like...
Philly votes for the Kamala's Kamala, man. You know? She's a Marxist. Like we've overheard of a Marxist.
Any city that calls it water ice is morally reprehensible.
Again, we're talking about the ontology of dessert choices.
Didn't Philly fans boo
Is that the
Santa?
word?
Hold up. Didn't Philly fans boo Santa?
Yeah, because he's a communist.
Did Philly fans boo Santa? It auto-completed. Yes, they did. In December 1968, they chucked snowballs and booed Santa.
Yeah, because they're anti-capitalist.
He was tossing candy canes into the crowd during a game break. And
Santa uses slave labor, dog. Like, we should boo him.
All right.
You ever seen Elf, Corbin?
Have you ever seen an elf? They're all up.
like
they're
the-
all
no,
up in the
the
North Pole.
The movie Elf.
Oh, well, that's the dramatization.
He seemed happy. Isn't that his whole thing in the movie?
I wish Jason was here because he would definitely have something to say about like.
He'd say something about James Caan. Is that the old guy? He'd say something about his movie from
Yeah.
1984, and we'd all go, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, basically.
He'd be like, "Y'all remember Misery?" Which is, hey, a great movie, but that's what he would say.
My breaking bulk this week is a Murders at Karlov Manor Black Rare.
Oh, I'm not gonna. No,
Rush of Dread.
I don't know what that card is.
Insatiable avarice.
I don't know what that card
I
is
think
either.
the only card that comes to mind is the Flash enchantment that makes things lose hexproof.
That's an uncommon.
That's
from
nowhere to
Dustborn.
run. Yeah, that's nowhere to run.
Which, by the way, nowhere to run. Great tech against the cards Heartfire Hero and Snakeskin Veil. Throwing that out there.
It's a great card.
But that's not my breaking bulk this week. It's a Murders at Karlov Manor Black Rare.
I was naming Murders at Karlov Manor's cards for what it's worth. But I don't know anymore.
I concede.
It's Case of the Stash Skeleton.
Oh, card's so fun.
Card saw a little bit of play in Pioneer and the Transmogrify decks because you could show your token. It sees a little bit of play in Standard right now too, in like little sacrifice strategies. It makes a guy, and if that guy dies, you have a Demonic Tutor the next turn. You gotta wait a turn. They couldn't put just Demonic Tutor on that, you know.
No, it is great though. I watched a lot of those decks doing commentary at the NRG a couple weeks ago. Case looked pretty decent in that deck. It's a nice little enabler.
Card, something that I find in bulk pretty regularly. It's pretty innocuous. It's just a little bit of like little rates put together to make something that's definitely worth 2 mana. Card has buy list backing. No direct premium currently, but like pick them out of your bulk. They're more than bulk rares, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know where we get all of our picks? It is from MTGstocks.com, the number one source on the internet for all of your Magic financial information, especially if you check out the premium side of the website. The part of it I personally use the most is to look at the monthly trends. You can see not just the day-to-day and week-to-week movers like you can on the free side of the website. You can see the month-to-month movers on the premium side, which is really nice to get a long-term, larger view of trends and what's happening with your cards. Great tool, one of many on the premium side of the website. So check out mtgstocks.com, where you will find a lot of Magic Foundations, which we're going to talk about now. Cass got in to the pre-release a little bit earlier, but Cass, what was the vibe from everyone there? Was it some new players by chance? Like, what did you see?
It was sort of this perfect melding of the old heads and the new players getting together and sharing something kind of magical. It sort of felt like M10 did.
Yeah.
Like there was a player who there was a player who like was trying to figure out how to cast their Galta and like into a giant, and the team was just like, no, it's fine, you just cast it. And they cast it, and then they double striked it, and the game ended. It was sick. And then there was a team that had one half of the infinite combo that's limited, and then threatened to take the other half because the opponent played it, and like that happened. I talked about my thing where like we decked our opponents out with our mono red aggro deck because they got too greedy with their bomb rares. The set has a lot of love and care in a way that I haven't felt in a core set since like M10. I know it's not explicitly a core set, but it's a core set.
Well, the thing is, it should be, my hope is that it's better than a core set, because the thing about the core set is that it was yearly, which, and we talked about this a million times over with both core sets and other like box topper type stuff that they were doing, where sure, the first one's cool and great and everything, and then the next one's fine and good, and you got a new thing, and then, but just the natural pressures lead to the core sets becoming less and less core sets and more their own thing, both because you need to make them stand out to sell cards, and also just because the designers who design them want to design something unique. They don't just want to put out something bland, right? Like, that's just not in their nature. So core sets have always just been a struggle for Wizards in general, not to mention that you are essentially signaling to players that, hey, this is for new players, not for you. And it was just always weird, which is why you've seen the core set concept go in and out and in and out and in and out over 30 years. I hope that with Foundations, since it's this whole 5-year runway, and they don't have the pressure of releasing Foundations 2 next year, that we actually just get to live with this set that was well made and with a lot of love and a lot of cards that are simple but excite people.
I will say, something about Foundations that has me incredibly sour is I was going to build a standard deck for my RCQ next weekend, and I had a fun little idea, and I opened up a case of play boosters. I should have most of the rares in the set, at least one of them. And I went through my stuff, and I went through it again, and I went through it again, and I just didn't have a copy of this rare, a card that is in Foundations, supposedly, but apparently you can only get out of Jumpstart, and it is standard legal. There's a version with the Foundation set symbol and a version with the Jumpstart symbol, and I don't know, it's possible I just didn't open one out of my play case, but it's a rare.
Well, it's not there have been weird rules about things that are standard legal, and it usually doesn't matter, but there was, I don't remember the card, but there was like a red burn spell or removal spell or something a few years ago that was worth a few dollars because it only came in like, I don't know, welcome packs or something stupid, right? Like,
I think you're referring to Flame Lash, which was from Kaladesh, also known as 8 years ago.
Yeah.
What did I say, a few years ago?
Yeah.
You know.
Carry the one.
The card I'm talking about, by the way, let's see if I can find it. It's a Goblin Lord from Jumpstart Foundations. Dropkick Bomber from Foundations on TCG Player. This card is $12, which doesn't seem right for a mediocre Goblin Lord on presale. It has 2 listings, which makes me feel like the card's not actually in Foundations, because the Jumpstart version's like $4. Is that card standard legal? I don't know. And that's kind of a nightmare. I have an RCQ in 5 days. Other than that, though, Foundation's great.
Yeah, I mean, all of the feedback I've seen from this set has been positive, from what I can tell, outside of the thing I just heard 2 minutes ago that I have already forgotten. And my main question here is, okay, the set's legal for 5 years. It's got all these cards that are perennial and just very basic, but also very well designed. It's got some cool synergies, some great reprints. Like, how does distribution work with something like this? Because I don't think we've seen a set that is, okay, you can just buy it for forever. Like what does Magic Design look like 5 years from now? Does this hold up? Like Wizards has always been this company that is like willing to pivot, and it does take the battleship a while to turn when you spin the wheel and like, oh, we don't like this standard format. Well, now we need to change it. Like, and I get that they designed for a couple years out. 5 is more years than I think they've ever needed to design for. Like, and so it just makes me wonder, like, if you're an LGS in 2028 and you need more of this, what does that look like? Is every card in the set worthless because it's been printed for that many years? And does that mean, like, what does that look like just forever from now?
I've also had the... Go ahead, Cass.
5 years ago was 2019, to be fair. Like, I have different worlds. Throne Eldraine was recently 5 years ago.
I have this
Magic
thought
was a different
about...
game. Sorry.
Jason
Are you doing your best Jason impression right now,
Jason
DJ?
is here. He's here. He's doing
I'll
Jason
fucking
with
kill
us.
you, bud.
That's fair.
One of the things about Foundations is we're talking about, like, what does the demand look like on this set in 4 years versus what does the supply look like? And it's possible that Universes Beyond is such an effective acquisition tool that Foundations will have demand for 4 years. And that's
point.
possible
That's
that
a
will
good
keep
point.
prices buoyed. Because like someone comes in for, Universes Beyond,
Spider-Man.
Bob's Burgers in 3 years. And
Sure.
they have to get their Llanowar Elves still. They still have to get their Genesis Wave or whatever Foundations card they need. And it's possible that like they think Magic is going to grow so much that Foundations can still be a product in 5 years that's worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's also possible that it's just not. It's possible it's just a terrible product you keep in your store because you bought 10 boxes in 2027. By 2028, like they're worthless, but like you have them still.
Well, one of the thoughts I've had is I do some like kind of, I don't know if worry is the right word, but like everyone's excited about Foundations now. They're always excited about them. 6 months from now, 9 months from now, we're going to be several sets deep into Universes Beyond. And people are, I still think I feel like I have to say this. People are literally going to be casting Spider-Man at the Pro Tour. Okay? In that context, where
People have been casting the One Ring at the Pro Tour for.
trust me, I'm not like trying to get into that side of it. I'm just saying, like, in that context, where a lot of people who have come in and are excited to play their Spider-Man deck or their Captain America deck or their Bob's Burgers deck or whatever, right? Are all those decks and things just so powerful that, like, sure, Llanowar else feels like it'll get played, but all these like rares and stuff that people are actually excited about from Foundations it's just going to be a set full of bulk rares in 3 years. That was
Foundations
kind of
has
what I was
a lot of
thinking
commander
about.
cards in it.
That's fair too. I mean,
Like almost the entire suite of mythic rares is like cards that will see almost no standard play. Or if they do, it's going to be because someone's doing something wacky. Like, do we think Twin Flame Tyrant is ever going to see constructed play?
I don't put anything past Team Sanctum of All. 3 Pro Tours in a row, they've played insanely convoluted combo decks. But I understand your point.
We could talk about Sanctum of All's deck building at some point.
It's all CFT sock.
Yes, it is heavily subsidized by people who are just like combo geniuses. And other people, like, that's not to say the other players on the team are bad or not succeeding with it. I think actually one of the other players is the one who did the best of the most recent Worlds with it.
Yep.
But
The whole team is good, but
then like people pick up the deck at FNM and they just doesn't function. They're just like, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, well, you're not one of the best combo players to ever play the game.
your brain just doesn't think that way. Like the lines that they, and then like it was before the Pro Tour, and I don't want to get wrong, so I don't want to call it. Somebody from the team posted, hey, here's a line we thought about for this deck. It's pretty cool. And it's like a 13 bullet point long, if you do all these things in this order and set up these cards and blah, 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 you can establish this loop, blah, 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 blah. And then like, but we just didn't play that deck. Here's the other ridiculous combo deck we played. Like, it just, and no one else in the Pro Tour is even thinking it like that.
Reading that post in particular made me feel like I was reading a CEDH primer from like 2016.
Yeah, for real.
Like
I remember
reading
gush, right? Like,
well, like there was the commander, like the Wizard Eminence one, Inala, I think is what it's called. There's a combo in that deck that's like 18 steps, and if you do this, you generate +1 mana. It involves like chaining Spellseeker and like sack a creature, make a mana for each of its color, like Burnt Effigy. And you do this loop that ends up with like 13 steps to +1 mana, and you do that, a million times, and then you kill them eventually. That's what reading like Sanctum of All lines feels like. Someone at the Foundations pre-release told me that they were getting into Magic now to be ready when Final Fantasy came out.
oh, I like that. Which, by the way, is June 13th, 2025. I'm looking at the schedule for Universes Beyond throughout 2025, or I guess just the whole schedule. For people who don't know. So the reason all of this matters, and like the reason Foundation matters, is because we're no longer getting a ton of Universes Beyond sets that are not standard legal, because they were bringing a ton of players into the game, and those players, real life experience, players been playing Magic for several months at this point, literally did not know what draft was, or even that it was 2-player game. They told me, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, they literally thought Magic was meant to be played as a 4-player game of Commander, and that was the only mode of playing Magic. Like, that's insane to people who've been playing Magic for 30 years, but that's reality, and that's not a bad thing at all. So, because of that, they're putting Universes Beyond into Standard, into the pipeline, along with Magic IP. And that is just going to streamline everything for the most part. There will still be things like the SpongeBob Secret Lair that are not part of Standard, but the Universes Beyond are going into Standard. The schedule for 2025 is Aether Drift, February. Tarkir, Dragonstorm. April. Final Fantasy, June. Edge of Eternities, August. Spider-Man, probably December. And then an unannounced one at the end of the year. Okay, so you've got half Magic, half Universes Beyond, 6 sets. So there is going to be more sets a year, but at least it's all going to be streamlined and you know what's going into what. So what this is going to mean sort of practically is that a lot of these players who Wizards is hoping to get into Standard with Foundations, who have been playing Commander for the past several months with their Universes Beyond stuff for the past year, they're going to be coming in to Standard with this, and that's what Foundations is aiming at to help bridge it all together. So it also means that, say, when a set comes out, right, when we start doing previews, it's not exactly going to be segmented into Commander and everything else, right? Because now those same Commander players are going to be aiming at Standard, where they can play their Final Fantasy cards. Like, it has the potential to cause like a real shift in, say, content creation. If the new players coming into the game, like, 10 years ago, the new players came into the game all wanted to watch Modern. 5 years ago, they all wanted to watch Commander. What if 2 years from now, they all want to watch Spider-Man and Standard, right? Like, just the things to think about is that what is true today doesn't necessarily have to be true forever. Obviously, Commander's never going anywhere. People love to play that way. But I do think that it's all just going to become one conversation again.
So a couple things here. Part of this is speculation, but contextually speaking, a lot of this, all of these cards are legal in Standard as an expected baseline, might come from the fact that Lord of the Rings launched a year and a half ago and players' expectations were not met. I got all these cards. What formats can I play them in? Not the main, I know Commander's the main one, but not the main one, like Standard, right? And this is a year and a half ago when they're trying to push Standard with the RCs and with these seasons.
Well, they were getting it going. I mean, I'd say that the push really came in 2024. But yeah, go ahead.
But that's part of it, is like Lord of the Rings hits the ground running, and then after Lord of the Rings, you have these other sets like Fallout, like Warhammer, like what's another Universes Beyond? Assassin's Creed. And like there are these players of like, oh cool, I got these cards. What formats can I play them in? We'll break out the Google sheet of this one's legal in this one's legal in that,
right,
etc. So like the timeline there does match up in terms of it starting a year and a half ago. And so the other part of this that is not speculation is from Mark Rosewater's Tumblr, which continues to be a font of information and resources for our little glimpses into the back end of Magic design. We've had these player feedback threads of like, well, this is too much Universes Beyond for me. This is too much of non-Magic IP. This is my cue to exit the game and to sell my collection, all of that, which I understand and empathize with, etc. And so players have relayed this to Mark Rosewater, who is still Magic's head designer after 28 years. And he said, well, if you want a non-Universes Beyond format, then if the players make it and build it, then if you build it, they will come kind of thing of like, if there's enough support and if there's enough grassroots feedback of, oh, this is a Magic format that just is whatever it looks like, but it doesn't have Spider-Man, no SpongeBob, no Cloud. Like, if there is enough player feedback to make that, then Wizards will follow suit. I mean, Commander over 10 years ago was just like a thing on a web forum, and then it was a single product that Wizards made 5 decks for because they needed something for that slot. And now it is the most popular version to play the game. So if that is you, if you are one of the pre-modern diehards or somebody who is really, really entrenched in the Magic IP and turns their nose up at the Universes Beyond stuff, like, you can still have your voice heard and pool together that community to make the thing that you want. And then that will become a real thing that Wizards makes for you if the support is strong enough, because they will support that if it will sell.
That's an interesting thought, I guess. I mean, I think that's an easy answer for Rose.
I'm not saying like it's just go make your own format and then two weeks from now like it'll be a real format. It does require a massive amount of like organic effort and like a huge crowd of people who all would want the same thing, which is obviously a challenge. But
the closest we've got outside of Commander's Pauper, right?
Wasn't Modern a grassroots format initially?
No.
What am I thinking of? Was Pioneer like from
Listen,
Frontier or something?
I can tell you exactly what you're thinking of. There was a time before Modern was created where people wanted to play with, like, people were creating a fan-made format. Specifically, Gavin Verhey made a format that I think was called Overextended.
Yes.
That had some, and I actually played a ton of Overextended on Magic Workstation, and I Modern was already in the works because there was not enough overlap. Like there was a small enough time period between the two that it's not like the crypt has worked. But to your larger point, yes, there was like a grassroots. We want something like this to exist, right? Because Legacy has a reserved list problem, and that was Legacy was blowing up, but it had a reserved list problem, and everyone recognized that Wizards could not interact with that, right? Like they really could not monetize that in a sustainable way moving forward because Magic events are getting bigger, blah, blah, blah. And yes, people were coming up with their own solutions to that. And in that time period, Wizards had their own, which of course became Modern. So to what Mark Rosewater is saying there, I do think it's like a little easy for him to be like, yeah, it's a nice corporate answer. If you tell us we can make it, if you even make it so we can make enough money off it, yeah, sure, we'll do it. Like you can say about everything, right? So I was trying to think if there's like a non-Commander example of anything like that happening. And I mean, they do give support to Pauper, for instance, right? So that's a real thing. But I think it's a lot easier to sell a format that's about something than it is to sell a format that's not about something. Yeah. Sure. And I think Pauper, and some of it is like, some of it's in the framing, right? Like, oh, Paupers, you just can't play rares and mythic, whatever, right? But like, realistically,
it's a home for commons.
Yeah, like exactly. It's yes, exactly. Whereas, we just don't want to play with Universes Beyond is just like
it's harder to say we just want to play Magic with air quotes.
Yeah, so that's my thought there. But the point is true. I think Premodern is an example.
I have seen enough demand for that format through my website packs. Like I had to make a separate checkbox for that format on when people make their profile on my website, like next to Standard, Modern, Commander, Pauper, Premodern. It's its own thing because I have a large enough subscriber base that played through that Ice Age to Scourge era. I mean, the gameplay's good. The cards feel nostalgic. It is. We were around for the old school boom of like. What was that, like 2019 to 2021, kind of like the huge reserveless old school boom? Like,
yeah,
this is 5 years down the line from that, and like the next batch of nostalgia players is ready.
Yep, you're right. That's absolutely right, DJ. Like that is a perfect way to describe how it came about. The ultimate grassroots. I saw people locally doing paper Premodern tournaments that they put together. So, and they're advertising on Facebook, and they're doing it.
Here's the thing about Premodern. Is DJ's right. There is like the next crop of nostalgia players, and I am in that. My Premodern deck, which, by the way, right here, I get to play with my Gaia's Cradles that I love from Legacy, my Survivals that I love from Legacy 10 years, 12, 14
Longer.
Years ago.
14, because I won the first SCG after the ban.
Shush, okay. That's so long ago. I get to play with like Tanglewire and like Wirewood Symbiote. It has to combo with Multani's Acolyte, and that rules. And Premodern is perfect.
The really cool thing about this format, and I say this as somebody who has not built a deck and probably won't, even if I have some deck list bookmarked on my folders on my desktop. But like the cards are so broken, but the payoffs are so garbage. So you get to play with all these crazy things, but you're like Gaia's Cradle to power out like a Verdant Force. Like you get to play all these insane things, and then it's like, all right, now time to beat you with a 7/7. Like,
here's the real thing. So okay, I'm gonna talk about Premodern because we got me on it. the Survival Gaia's Cradles deck is so sick because you don't play Avert and Force anymore. We figured it out. You play Survival. First, you discard a card to get Squee. You discard Squee to get Anger. You discard Anger to get Yavimaya Granger, which you play to get your Mountain, and then all your elves have haste. You find all the Wirewood Symbiotes and Kyrian Rangers in your deck to untap your Priest Titania over and over again, which, by the way, had haste. You can find that after the combo is set up. And then once you have all that mana, all these elves in play that are all hasted, you find a Tribal Force Mage, which you morph down, then morph up, to give all your elves +2/+2 and trample, and you kill them. It is so cool. Masticore is good again.
So
Play
what
Premodern.
turn are we killing them on?
Survival.
I done it on
broken,
turn
go figure.
3, turn 4.
Okay.
Yeah, who
So the
would've
actual
guessed
thing is the
survival
deck-
of the fittest, you know?
Survival of the Fittest, Gaia's Cradle, and Phyrexian Dreadnought are like such power standouts in the format, and yet like the format's still kind of close because all the decks are still mopey.
Yeah, I
That
was
was a good way to
looking
put
at
it.
the format in order to build my subscriber packs, and like Stifle Not is a reasonable percentage of the format, but that's just because like players in that demographic like to feel like they're smart.
Well, speaking of
Here's the
feeling
thing.
like you're... Go ahead.
Is I like to feel like I'm clever, which is why I play Premodern.
And who doesn't like to feel clever? That's why you listen to our picks of the week. And you get ahead of all your friends and everyone else at the LGS. And then you feel super clever. And that's why we're bringing you picks of the week right now.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
So I have a pick that is fully based on CEDH, I believe. It's a card that, when was this, 2019, the card was 16 cents, and it has crept up to, it just hit $1 this month, so it's finally in the 3-digit zone. God Pharaoh's Statue from War of the Spark
Oh yeah.
is a legendary artifact that costs 6 mana. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life, which is whatever. And then it says spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more.
That's
You ever
pretty
try to play through a Mystic Study without making anybody draw a card? What about 2?
good. Yeah, it's a smothering tithe. You just give up.
Yeah, and this doesn't give you the choice. It just locks you out of the game. And so that all your fast mana, all your chroma, like a lot of CEDH games are determined not by somebody like going infinite on turn 1. I mean, some of them are determined by that, but like the player who gets this out gets to take their sweet time comboing, because everything, you just put a ball and chain around everyone else's knees or ankles or whatever. You can put it on their knees too. we don't joint discriminate here. And like the card is just so strong at what it does when you just get it out early and then just cripple your opponents. And it's not the kind of card that they want to put in a commander precon, just because that doesn't lead to a fun gameplay experience. And so it's just from War of the Spark in a list printing, and it's crept up. It's $1 now, and it was 10 cents 5 years ago. Clearly that all these picks of the week, I say this every week, like reprint asterisk, version hell, could be put in anything, but like if there was a card I wanted to buy like 100 of for 50 cents and just put in a box for a year, I can think of a lot worse cards.
Yeah.
Foils are $10, by the way. So like that's more of a breaking bulk. This was going to be my breaking bulk for this week, and then I moved it into the pick of the week slot just because I thought that there's still room for it to grow.
No, I like
just
it.
based on the graph.
Yeah. From MTGstocks.com, of course. All right, I've got a graph-based one for you as well. There's a card that we all talked about in Bloomburrow. It's a rare. It's a white rare from Bloomburrow, and we all talked about being a new Commander staple. And hey, get it when it's cheap, because it'll be cheap one day. Okay? That's where we're at right now with this card. Anyone have any guess?
I mean,
It's not, it's not a quiz, but I'm just curious.
the white rare from Bloomburrow that is a commander staple, in my mind, is already extremely expensive, and that one's Caretaker's Talent.
To me,
Okay.
it's Dawn's Truce.
Don's Truce is the answer. It's $7 right now, which is up from, 4 to 5 back in September. So, it was actually even below 5 for at least a hot minute in August, right? The point is, the card is just creeping up, and it's not going to pop into anyone's best moving list of big risers, because it's just slowly moving up in fits and starts. But we're going to look up 3 months from now after people spend Christmas money or whatever, and it's going to be $10, and you're going to be like, damn, wish I got it before it was $10, right? So now it's just, the last call on Dawn's. Well, I don't know about last call, but get your Dawn's Truces if you're interested in it. There's also a showcase version of it. I don't know how people feel about it. It looks a little different. It's around the same price, but it's done the same thing. Since September, it's climbed up from $5 up to $7.50. So pick up your Dawn's Truce.
This card fits into a niche of cards I like to call Facebook broken.
Go on.
Does that not this category of cards?
I believe it is self-explanatory, but go on.
Yeah, this category of cards are extremely overpowered to the Magic player that only exists on Facebook and plays within their local board game group.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, Heroic Intervention, Akroma's Memorial is one. I remember over 10 years ago, a formative experience for me was during Magic 2013 pre-release and preview season. One of the websites posted the preview for Akroma's Memorial in M13, and the most liked comment on that post was, "This is the end of Red from now on."
Ironically liked by some.
I love the Mythic spoiler comment section because it's just Facebook broken.
Yeah, Facebook broken is great.
And so the demand for Heroic Intervention, I mean, that card, Heroic Intervention, the Fallout one was like $5. It's back up to 10 from early this year.
They can't reprint this card enough, Heroic Intervention, to make it not $10, and they've printed it a lot now. It's in Fallout. It's in Doctor Who. There's Secret Lairs. There's core sets. There's promo packs. There's Commander Masters.
Speaking of,
there's
from
Lord
Doctor
of the
Who,
Rings Commander.
Everybody Lives, still $10. Just won't go below that. One of the more expensive cards in the set.
Yeah.
Does the same thing. Just everybody, all creatures live.
Everybody lives.
It's got an incredibly annoying exclamation point at the end, for editing purposes. Maybe my own personal struggle there.
Yeah,
but anyway,
problem.
Yeah, maybe get in on your Dawn's Truces. It's only $10.
Even with that annoying apostrophe in it.
Cash, you get to finish off the picks of the week and the show this week. What are you looking at?
I think this is a card that I have picked before. Not even that long ago. But it's a card I'm picking again. Because I am playing several copies of this in my Legacy deck at Eternal Weekend this year.
All right.
Duskmoor Mythic Rare, Kaito Bane of Nightmares. This card is the real deal. It is it turns entire Legacy matchups on its head. This is a card that in 3 years we're going to be finally it rotated out of Standard. It's going to start seeing play in Modern at some point. This card it has hexproof on your turn. Do you know that? In Legacy, your opponent cannot Swords to Plowshares it. They cannot Fatal Push it. It's uncounterable. It's an uncounterable Planeswalker that also attacks them every turn.
So, covering the NRG Pioneer event, we watched Demir Ninjas with Kaito go to I don't remember if it was the finals or the semifinals. Heck, it might have won the event. My memory's blurry. It was insane watching what Kaito did, and it single-handedly would win games. You could loop Kaitos to get multiple activations per turn. It's hexproof. It really is absurd. The deck was playing the Fairy Miscreants. It's a 4-of Fairy Miscreant deck, and it was in the finals of the tournament of the 5K.
I was playing Legacy yesterday, and my opponent was playing lands, and I put a Kaito into play, and he's just okay, so I can't Swords to Plowshares, and I can't Karakas it. I'll make a Merit Lage or whatever, and I block with a Baleful Strix, and then I -2 Kaito to tap his Merit Lage for 2 turns, and I just attack him for 3, and I replay a creature that the Orcish Bowmasters that I ninjutsu'd back to my hand.
Yeah.
And he died. I played against a control deck, and I just pick up my Baleful Strix, put in my Kaito. Oh, you can't Source to Plowshares that? Great, you take 3, I'll Surveil 2, draw a card,
and they can't
my Baleful
counter
Strix,
it.
draw another card. They can't counter it.
Yeah. So what are they
I think
do?
that this
Swords
card
the
is
birds? Yeah.
This card has potential to be $20, $30. It is so good. It will be a multi-format all-star, and people have just not caught onto it because it's so weird.
And Duskmourn feels to me, I can say factually, Duskmourn is one of the most impactful sets on older formats we've seen in a long time, and most of it is the Overlords, but a lot of it is the Overlords. There were modern decks, Pioneer decks, playing 13 Overlords in them at the tournament. like it's going to hold value, I think, well, which means the value is going somewhere. And it seems like Dustmore's going to hold up pretty well. So that's a great pick. All right, and another great pick that you should all make is Coalesce Apparel and Design, where you can use gift code Brainstorm Brewery, get 5% off your order that you can use for our merch or the merch of anyone else on the website. Lots of your favorite Magic content creators on there, and use that gift code Brainstorm Brewery, get 5% off. We also appreciate all of our supporters who go to patreon.com/BSB. Your support is actually truly what makes this podcast possible. For as little as $1 or $2 a month, you can help us help our editor edit our show, because that's how we get it to you. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. Thank you for listening to Brainstorm Brewery.
Yeah, you get to help edit the show. The listener does. If you donate enough money, you get a one-on-one in-person session with JJ, fly you out, sit in JJ's chair, he'll hold your mouse sensually like that one Ghost movie scene.
Well, and you will hear a lot of that gets cut from the show, and you'll be like, it is worth it. These guys suck without an editor.
Our most recent After Hours had one of my favorite bits of all time that we cut because like it was too mean. Like if you want to hear me and Jason make fun of someone so hard that if they heard it, they would cry. You can hear that on our After Hours. And DJ and Corbin were a little bit nicer, but it was still like Mean Girls hours.
You should check. The After Hours are, not going to lie, one of the best parts of the Patreon. Maybe a little biased, but they are available and really, really good. All right, well, I think that does it for Brainstorm Brewery this week. We'll see you next time, everybody.